Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at my new Bandai 1/72nd scale X-Wing fighter. Now I picked this kit at Hobby Lobby a few weeks ago now, along with a few others that I'm excited to show you in a few videos in the future. Now as I said before, this kit is a 1/72nd scale kit. It may seem small to some people who are used to building the larger 1/48th scale, 1/35th scale model kits. But it really didn't make a difference to me. I really didn't notice the difference on how small it was, because the kit was just so insanely detailed. There is so much detail on all of these parts, and I just really thought it was amazing. And another thing is, it's actually a snap-tight kit, so all the parts are engineered so that everything fits together almost perfectly. And yeah, I just really enjoyed building this kit because of that. Everything just fit together so perfectly, and I didn't have any issues with any of the parts at all. I didn't really show any of the build process for this kit, although I did show a few parts just being added to the X-Wings. I'm not sure if they're called X-Wings, but whatever. Just because it's a pretty standard build process, nothing really special about it. Although it is a snap-tight kit, as I said before, there's really nothing too hard about or special about building this kit. I did, as you saw before, cut off the front nose of the plane to make it look like as it had hit the beach, as it crashed, that the front nose had just been ripped off. And I also did that. I also added some more battle damage with a drill bit. Now, if it crashed in real life, although I know these things aren't real, there would have been wires inside of the plane that would have been there to control various objects on the outside and inside of the plane, you know, normal things that would have been on any aircraft. And then after I had finished adding the wires and the super glue I finished drawing, I went ahead with some flat black paint, watered that down a little bit, not too much, just to add some burn marks of parts where it would have maybe caught on fire, or maybe when it crashed, might have been a little bit smoldering or something like that. And then I put a flat coat over the model, which I did not show in the video, and went over the whole model with a black wash mixture that just 1 part black paint with 2 parts water. And I also added a few drops of Pledge floor polish in there as well, just to seal everything better. I've had a problem without adding the Pledge floor polish before, that it just pretty much just peels off after the paint is finished drying. So I tried to fix that problem by adding the floor polish, and it worked fine. So there we go, that's just with the wash on it. And then I thought that since it was underwater, it might need, you know, some rust effects on there. So what I did was I took some orange paint and brown paint, mixed it up with water, and added a few drops of more Pledge floor polish. And then I just brushed that over the model in the areas that in real life there will be rust. And it doesn't look good now, but when it dries, it'll look so much better. You can just pretty much dab it over the surface. Every area that you think would have that in real life, you just go ahead and brush it on there. And I pretty much did that for the whole model, around all the crevices and details. And I especially did it on the areas that would have been underwater for some time. So there we go, there's the finished model. I really loved this kit, just building it as, you know, a normal modeler. The decal for the canopy was very nice, although you will need some decal solution to fit that on, because it's a bit fiddly if you're just using water, and it needs to kind of set in there to conform around the shape of the fuselage. Now I wanted to make a diorama for it, so I put it on a piece of XPS foam, then just cut it to make it sort of a hilly landscape. Then what I did is I took this big brush here, and I mixed some Mod Podge, plaster of Paris, and then some water into a container to make it more of this watery, thicker mixture that can easily be applied to with a brush. And I just pretty much brushed that over the whole diorama. It's really nice because it seals the whole surface. And I also added a few drops of brown paint in there too, so that I wouldn't have to go ahead and paint the diorama later on. I got this idea from a channel called Boy Lie Hobby Time. There'll be a link to that in the top right corner of the video, and I'll also put a link to his channel in the description. He has quite a few cool builds that I think you guys should check out. A lot of Star Wars related stuff and sci-fi and stuff like that. So I pretty much just brushed the mixture over the whole diorama, and after that dried, I wanted to simulate beach sand. Now, I wasn't really sure how to go about doing that. There aren't very many YouTube videos online, so what I decided to do is just use some tile grout and glue. So what I did was, first of all, I brushed some Mod Podge matte over the whole area of the diorama that I wanted to have sand. Then I sprinkled some light. I think it's. I'll put the color in the video description of what color grout it is. But I just sprinkled that color grout over the glue, and then what I did was I sealed it in with some Mod Podge matte, mixed with some water and some dish soap. That's an idea from Luke Towan. You probably already know about him, but if you don't, the link to his channel will be in the description as well. But what this does is it pretty much just seals down any part of any little grains of tile grout that weren't fully sealed, weren't fully fixed into place by the first layer of glue we did earlier that we just applied at the bottom. So this pretty much just makes everything a rock solid surface that I can do pretty much anything I want to it. Now I really wanted to paint this nice rock that I put in there. This is just made out of a plaster mold that I had left over from another project that's coming out soon. And what I did was I had some brown or gray paint, and I dabbed that onto the surface, and then I had a lot of the leftover rust wash mixture that I just used on the model plane, and I was like, oh, that's like a brown color, so I decided to put that onto the surface of the rock as well, and I think it really made it a lot more interesting, and it added some cool colors to it. And then I decided to add some light green, I believe that's what it's called, light green woodland scenic static grass. Any color static grass you want will do. You don't even have to add any static grass if you don't want to, or if you don't have an applicator. So what the applicator does, you put the static grass into the hopper, you put the negative grounding wire onto the surface of the diorama, shake the static grass over it, and then I tap the bottom a few times just to get rid of all the excess that wasn't fixed down by the glue. And this also helps the grass stand up a little bit. And when you're done, you have this really nice, realistic-looking grass on the model that I think is really cool. Then what I did was I had some hot glue. I added some hot glue to the sides of the base to make a mold for the resin to sit into. And so I used hot glue and just stuck those onto the side of the foam. Made sure to seal it very well because you don't want any resin leaking out halfway through the process. I think that it's probably better to use more hot glue than less, just to make sure that everything's going to be sealed in. You're not going to have any leaks throughout the whole pouring process, and you really don't want that. So now the resin I'm using is from Alumilite. I'll put a link to their website in the description. I really love this resin. It's just really easy to work with, and the odor, it really doesn't have any odor, and it's honestly really cheap compared to some of the other, like Woodland Scenics and all the other main brands for hobbyers. I'm not sure if that's a word, but whatever. And another cool thing about the resin it is mixed in a 1-to-1 mix ratio, so it's really easy to use, really easy to mix. Doesn't take that long to dry or fully cure. You're going to want to mix the resin very well until it's clear. And then I also bought some light ocean blue dye from Alumilite as well. And I mixed that into the resin to give it a light blue tint. One thing I learned is that it's always going to look darker. Whatever dye you mix in to the container is always going to look darker until you actually put it on the diorama. Just to keep that in mind. I probably could have gone maybe a tiny bit darker when I tinted the resin, but I think the results came out okay for me. And then I just went ahead, I poured the resin into the mold, onto the diorama. It's really easy to use, you just pour it in there. I guided the resin with a little bit a popsicle stick, just to make sure it didn't get all over the top of the X-Wing. And also, while it was curing, you're going to want to make sure that there are no leaks or anything. So I just hung around there for a little while, just to make sure that nothing was leaking out, nothing was getting into places that it shouldn't be. The sides weren't bubbling, nothing bad was happening, and everything worked out okay. After the resin had fully cured, about 12 hours, I was really happy with the results, and I decided to use a product that I hadn't previously bought before, so it was my first time using it, but I've heard good things about it, and it really worked well for me, but it wouldn't seem like water waves. It's kind of expensive right now. On Amazon, it was about $17, which it was pretty expensive for a tiny bottle of white or clear gel. But I honestly think that it was definitely worth it. You definitely get what you pay for the price. It pretty much, you brush it on, and it goes on as it dries. So it's not going to change color. It's not going to change its shape. Any shape that you mold it into, it's going to keep that shape. And I thought it was really easy to use, and I really just enjoyed using the product. I stippled it in some areas and made smaller waves in other areas, and yeah, you can just apply it with a normal brush. You can wash it off with a brush, and when it's dried, it dries pretty much like clear silicone. Although it doesn't smell as bad as either. That's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can share it to your friends if you want to. It really helps me out by subscribing. Like I don't make these videos for myself. I make them for you guys. So if you guys like seeing my videos, or you just want to help me out, just subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye.